Vale. Vale, doncs, quan vulguis.
Vale. Okay, so Casa is a project that's meant to talk about its surroundings, like everything we needed from the project, or any intentions or any questions, we just had to ask to the surroundings and the needs of the client. So at the end, the whole thing about the project is like to create a new way of living in nowadays how people live, but adapting this to understanding the place. And what understanding the place for us like is understanding in different scales and different ways. So it's like from understanding the culture of the place, of the Mediterranean lifestyle of the area of La Bisbal, and also understanding how its nature is here, and also how they have constructed in this area during the many centuries. So it's all about clearly understanding this. We had like a really strong connection with the client since the first day. He really had this intention of like he really wanted a place that felt like it's been there always, and that talked about the feelings of feeling part of the place. So this is another point that for us was very important, this connection with the client, with the people that wanted to live here, that not only the trust in our way of thinking, but also the same approach, totally same approach of how we wanted to construct in this specific site. We are in an area that's in the surroundings of a little village, like one of the classical, typical village of this area of Baix-Empordà, near to La Bisbal area. And this is important because the site is near to a little village, but it's in the outside, so it feels like it's in the middle on the countryside of the nature. It's an amazing site, and we're lucky to be able to work here. Like there's no fences between neighbors, so this feels like really like openness, and also the site itself, which is this one here. It had like a combination of things that are typical from this area, and it's this combination of the green and this beige color of the ground that people work on it. So it's this contrast in this area of these colors of green of nature and this brown beige color, more horizontal. So the site is like this. It comes from like they were like analyzing the site itself. Had like a few things that were very important for us. The first point was like the topography, which the site is like in this, we call it like rotula, is like a joint, like an in between, like a very vertical landscape with a lot of trees, and then this horizontal part with no trees that we can see here. So it's like this combination. This is actually like the part where we could construct. We can see it in this model. And apart from the topography, the other thing that was important for us was to understand the actual trees that were in the site. In terms of like, there's like the regulation here was very good. Another good thing that we found is like they really did a carefully thought of what you could do here. And in some of these regulations, we had this thing about not touching a lot of trees, or if you did touch one, then you had to put it in another place. Not only this, but to understand what kind of trees, like the classical pino, which is like, we all think is like a classical tree for here, is a tree that comes from another place. So it's not a local original plant, so you could remove some of those. But the alzinas is like the autochthonous local tree, so you couldn't touch any alzina. So this was an important input. Another input that for us was like very important, we're in the natural side and we have cats and animals, was the views. The site is very rich in its views. It has a lot of different kind of views, and apart that from us to really be here and study what kind of views were interesting, the client also gave us like a specific view that he needed, and it's this view of Las Illas Medas, which is this like amazing islands that are just at the end of the Montgrí, which is a mountain that I can see right now, but not the Medas from here. But we came here with stairs, and we like try in different points like where should be this view, and that's why the building at some point goes in an upper level, because we thought like this project should be like very settled in the side, so we didn't want it to be very vertical. But we find out that the only position where you could see the Medas was in an upper level. So and this for the client was very important point. So another input that was very important was the view, and not only the views, but how to interact with these views. This interaction with nature was another like a starting point that was very important. Like, how should we interact with nature? And we, as a first approaches, we decided that we could have like at some point this relation of breaking this interior with the exterior, which is like the space that we are right now, which it comes from the outside and it comes in the inside and goes to the outside again. In contrast with spaces that you have like a frame window, which is marking like a specific view. So also with a little difference, like having like a different experience in relation to the site. And from these inputs of understanding the site, further on we'll talk about like the culture and how we understood how the local people construct here. Just first taking a look of how to interact with the site. We wanted to not to be very aggressive with the nature and its topography. Not only the trees, which is more evident, but the topography. So one of the decisions was to put the building in the part of the land that was more flat, so that we are not going to do a lot of movements with the earth. So this decision and the way that we understood the house should work in a very classical way in terms of like private area, rooms, and living area, we took the decision of working in an L shape, which was putting the building in the part where the topography was very flat. And this L shape not only makes this less aggressive interaction with the topography, and it works with the program, but also it generated this kind of building that we wanted. And it's a patio building. So the house itself, it wants to be an L shape, but a patio also. And this patio that we wanted to create in terms of, we always like to think that, we always like to ask our clients what is the budget that they have for their projects. And we like to understand this from the beginning, because we believe that from the beginning you can have some strategic decisions that take you to a cost of material, another. Not only the final materials, but the decisions at the beginning. So it's also this thing about not being aggressive with the landscape makes it also cheaper in a way. And this patio that I was talking about, we never have like a classical patio with 4 walls. What we have is an L shape that it's enclosed by the natural topography, which we can see here. Is this actual patio that we have here? That is not done in its all with the construction. So here we have like the first decisions of the project, how to be in the place, and also there was this point of trying that the lifestyle went longer than the place that we can build, so that you have different interactions in the landscape. So that's why, like in these decisions, I will take the roof, you have this, it's a very conceptual like model where you can see these few decisions that I've been talking about. So this L shape in the more flat area that divides different kind of program, more intimate with rooms and the more public, with always working with the kitchen as a mixed point between 2 lives. And then we have this interaction between these 2 volumes that what it wants to do is to prolong itself to the side, ending with the swimming pool and doing another space here. So this again talks about how we felt that the Mediterranean lifestyle should be. And it's all about understanding also its climate. People here like to be outside, so it's obviously that in summertime you want to be outside but you need some shade. And in winter you want to be outside but you want some sun. That's why this strategic point, living point in this here, can give us this both opportunities. You have the space that we are right now, in this dining area. If you go here, you have sun. If you have there, you go shade. And in different times of the year, it's completely different. So it gives this polyvalent use easily to the people that live here. Another thing that was important from the beginning is to work with a kind of modulation of the house that itself had like two strong things. One, the fact of working with 6 meter per 6 meter, it gave this opportunity of not working with outrageous structures, but with standard profiles. So this also was like a strategic point. Not only that, but working with square models of 6'6", which all the house works like this, it gives the opportunity in the future to make the changes that you think it could be interesting to do in a way that it feels like a modular way of designing and not like so much specific in every corner. And also this thing about working with 6x6, and now I'm going to talk because we are like talking now about how to construct, no? And here's where we like to talk of this concept of genius loci. The genius loci is like a Roman concept. Basically is talking about the spirit of the place, the soul of the place, and in every sense. And in modern architecture, they have taken this concept. Many other architects before us, obviously, and people that for us are like maestros, like the ones we like to see what they have done. And basically is to really understand like the place, because we believe that spaces have soul. It needs to evoke you to some sentiments. And if you are working in a local way, it increases the sense of belonging. And that's why we, in this term of genius loci, what we call it in this specific project, because another good thing about this genius loci approach is that it makes that all the projects that we do are never the same. How could they be the same if they're in different places with different cultures? Even if you're working like here, like 50 miles away is in front of the sea, it's totally different, the approach you're going to make, even though it's near. So what we did was to think on how the local way that people constructed, and that's why we call like this genius loci ceramic from La Bisbal. La Bisbal has this, they're very proud in terms of ceramic. Obviously, ceramic is being used in many places, like it's a traditional old material, but the specific way that they use it here is very specific, and not only in terms of architecture, but in terms of little pieces of art or home. So it also goes further on from just only the construction. But they're very proud in La Bisbal of having the ceramic as a one of the principles way of economic local producers of money, and this one was a strong decision that we had, like working with all the project with ceramic and with the local and with local people, and this in terms of sustainability, which is an issue that we architects we really need to be very keen on getting better and seeing many approaches. Mostly our approach in terms of sustainability is working with classical passive decisions, And the passive decisions are basically to understand the climate. For example, here it's what we call like cálido húmedo. It's a hot area, but also it's very humid. And for this, you need to understand that you need to do a crossing ventilation. So this is like a passive architectural decision in terms of sustainability, because at the end, what you're doing here is like you don't need to consume with the air conditioning, which, by the way, this house hasn't have this air conditioning, for example. Not also this, but understanding that the sun in the south part, like it's in summertime, is very strong. So that's why in this south facade we decided to put this horizontal shade. So it is, what I want to say is this, that from the sustainability point of view, one is the arquitectura pasiva. But the one that I wanted to say is like working with 0 kilometer materials. I don't know if this is the name, but working with local materials is also sustainable, because you're increasing like economical local way of living, but also the transportation is like just from here. And obviously there are different scales of, like, this was an intention and this was something that we did in a very serious way, but obviously we have pieces of concrete, so there's things that are not clearly from here. But the main idea was to work with local people and with kilometer zero materials, which took us working with ceramic. Not only working with ceramic was like a local material way, it's also here we have the river Ter, and also the facade. This rendering is done with little stones from river Ter. So it also like it's like these simple decisions, but that really talk about working with the local way of doing. And also in terms of how we constructed it, at the end, our approach is to understand how they have built before, but try to be disruptive and wanted to reinvent this way of construction and try to innovate and say, okay, we have understand it, but we think that we can go further on, and let's always have this sensation of wanting to get better and better in terms of all architects, no? Walls are built with ceramic, but where we wanted to like go further on is with the roofs, with the horizontal structure, where we work in different ways. First of all, we understand, like you have this model that you take the lower distance part, and from there you do the structure. And there we decided to work with this bolted piece, which is very typical from here. And depending on the two volumes that you have, the direction is different. So we're giving like a special like a dynamism in the roof, but trying to also to get more in a different space. This one that we are here, this more like horizontal that goes to the swimming pool. Here we wanted the roof to be flat, but with the same module and with the same ceramic. So it's these little details that make also that the house has different characters, different like souls in every space. So like it gives like different approaches in different spaces. Obviously, always related to functionality, because this is something that we don't talk a lot, but obviously architects, like the first approach is like to be the function. It needs to work, it needs to be useful. And then we had this thing about what's called la volta catalana, the Catalan vault. This is like a typical way of doing vaults, and basically it's trying to cover like bigger like distance with only one vault. So it has like a specific way of working in terms of structure, and we were really keen on trying to see how this worked, to understand how it's made, and try to have a different approach. And at the end, this Catalan vault that we did in the upper room, which is the one that has views to the Illas Medas, at the end we have a few things that we were concerned. One was the fact that it felt gentle to get an upper level. Like if you imagine this volume like a normal square, like it will feel more aggressive. But just by doing this curve here, it feels like it's like growing from the wall that is here at the end, like this. So it felt. So the different this strange shape from the Catalan bolt, it's made because we wanted to go tangent, I think the name is tangent, but I don't know, from this vertical plan. So this is the first decision. The other is to take the maximum highest height that we could do in terms of regulation. And the other one was, as we decided to work with these 6 modules, take a perfect arc from a circle and see how it intersection with the vertical plan. So that's the reason of this particular shape in this Catalan bolt, but it's constructed in the original way with different pieces, that different layers. So it's constructed like in a totally traditional way. And then this little like decisions that also are in this conceptual model is this way of these horizontal lines that we have in all the house have different reasons. One is a constructed reason in a way that as you have a rendering in the facade, putting like this at the end is like making it easier to construct, no? Like first we do one, first we do the other one. The other point is that in these facades, if you put like this piece, it's making a little shade. Then the wall is not getting this much heating in the summer weather. So it's also being like a sustainable decision. And the other part is this thing about that we were already concerned of being gentle in the side. So this thing about these horizontal lines makes it subtle. And not only this, but at some points, the walls go further from the house in these 2 points. And this was one of the only points that with the client we were discussing, like why do we need these walls? Like it has no specific use. But we were really, we wanted to, not to convince him, to explain him why, and he really understood, and he really said, okay, it's like, and we showed him this with models and drawing, like if we took away these 2 walls, the building felt quite a lot more aggressive in the side. But if you do it more horizontal, it feels like it has more surface of settle down. Especially in this point, it touches actually this more vertical part, no? So it feels like it's sticking to the place. And I think that in a global thing, this should be it. I mean, I want to think, because I'm sure that like many other specific things that we can talk about, but maybe if we go along the house, maybe like there's so many things to talk. But in general terms, I think that this should be like an explanation of how is Casa.